Hey everyone, welcome back to the Promised Land podcast with me, Scott Saunders, talking all things Manchester United. There's no match for a few days yet. Brighton await on Saturday in the early kickoff, the dreaded early kickoff in some cases. But let's hope United can get off to or continue their good start to the league season with 2 wins out of 2. I will be back after that game, hopefully, to talk through it. But I did want to jump on in the days before it to talk about the bigger picture, because obviously there is nine days left as we record this of the transfer window. It closes on Friday, August the 30th at 11 o'clock British summertime time. A little bit earlier than usual by the seams of it. It seems to usually end either on the 31st or at the start of September in recent years, or so it seems. But look, United have had a decent window so far. 4 signings have been made. I think, is it 4? Xerxes, Euro, 3 or 4. I can't remember. You'll have to remind me in the comments. But United have had a good window so far. They've strengthened in their defense. It is 4 signings. They've got Mazraoui, De Ligt, Lenny Yoro, and Joshua Xerxes, who scored on his debut. Sorry, bit of a mind blank there. But 4 signings so far. I think we all went into the summer thinking that United needed to do a little bit more business than that. Not only on incomings, but also outgoings. And outgoings seems to be the area where things are held up. So I did want to talk through the squad as it stands today, and what else we could realistically expect to happen on the incomings front before the window closes. United play Brighton, obviously, and then I do believe it's another week. The transfer window closes on the Friday, and then Liverpool are on the Sunday. There's a Europa League draw around that Friday as well, I think. So we should find out who United play in Europe, etc., etc. But yeah, today I just wanted to look at the state of United's squad, because I think it has arguably been strengthened, even though obviously some big players have left. There's certainly a lot more to squeeze out of the squad that Erik ten Hag currently has as well. But I just wanted to look at it, break it down a little bit, see what we could realistically expect to happen before the window closes, to see what United are working with for the first half of the season. But please subscribe to the show on Apple and Spotify if you've not done so already, the Promised Land and Manchester United podcast, and subscribe on YouTube as well. I do try and do 2 recordings a week as it stands. The days are a little bit off. It is Wednesday. I will be releasing this at around 5 o'clock on Wednesday night. Planning to do it Tuesday, but it just, things get away from you, and lots of things happening at work at the moment as well. So I thought, what is the right idea to kind of bring you guys? And I thought, I'll be honest with you, like, there was a moment in the summer. I'm sure, obviously, you guys have, if you've been following for a while, you know the situation around the podcast recently. Not so many recordings. I did actually record a Stay or Go in the middle of the summer, which I didn't release, around United squad. And I kind of broke down the squad in full. So maybe this is a redo of that, but knowing that a lot of the players, I can't reuse that episode, obviously, because a lot of the players that were there at the time have since left, and some new ones have joined as well. So that's where we stand. But I think United have done some good work. They've done some difficult work as well. They're having to make difficult decisions on letting Aaron Wan-Bissaka go for, a cut price fee. I think it was half decent, but, having to pay off the amount of money they had to pay off to him in order to get him out. They're difficult decisions to make, and how many of those will United need to make over the next couple of years? I think that situation would be pretty common. But yeah, subscribe to the show if you haven't done so already, and please drop a comment as well, because obviously, especially if you're watching on YouTube, I would really like it if you could drop your feedback on what United should be doing. I'm sure there's some players that you think should leave, some you think should be given a chance and should stay. But obviously, opinion is a game of opinions, right? So, maybe my opinion differs to yours. Maybe we're all on the same page, but please let me know in the comment section, and also get in touch with me as well on social media at @_Scott Saunders on TikTok and Twitter. I really need to grow the Instagram as well, I think. So if you don't follow me on Instagram already, please do. And I will at some point sort out taking clips from this show and actually putting them on TikTok and on Instagram as well, with the help of one of the guys who listens. So a big shout out to him, and hopefully we can bring more of that to you soon. But yeah, I just wanted to This is a little bit different. This is a little bit different. I'm going to try something here. And hopefully, if you're watching this on your phone or something like that, hopefully I don't come up too little. But if you're listening to this, maybe you don't really need these cues. But I figured that it might be an idea if I presented the screen and I looked at United's website as it was and run through with like visual prompts so I could, it would help me. And B, it might be something a little bit easier for you guys to follow as well. But if you're listening along on audio, I will obviously call these players out as I talk about them. But yeah, let's get into it then, because I think it is probably the best thing to do. But let me just figure out how I do this. Right, here we go. Sharing screen. So I'm bringing up, for those listening, United's first team squad. And there it is. So what I'm going to do here is essentially a different version of the Stay or Go that I did earlier in the summer, which I didn't release. But, run through potential destinations for some of these players. And I'll talk about incomings as well when we get to those positions. But obviously the goalkeepers here, Altay Bayindir, Tom Heaton, and Andre Onana. I think those guys are pretty much fixed. There was obviously some doubt about whether Tom Heaton would end up staying towards the end of last season, but I'm glad he has. Obviously, seems to be a really popular guy in the dressing room. Close friends with a lot of players as well. I think Scott McTominay named him as his best mate in the squad the other day as well, which is nice. We'll get to Scott McTominay in a little bit as well. But I think the goalkeepers will remain untouched. I think the priority order is there. Obviously, there have been questions about Andre Onana as well. And it is his second season now. Hopefully, he's had that 6 months bedding in period, and he is able to kick on and show some of his best traits over the course of this season. Kept one clean sheet already and didn't have too much to do, if I remember rightly, against Fulham. There was one long shot, I remember, a deflected overhead kick, I think, which he had to tip over the bar. But generally, I think what United have to do and what the team has to do is end up being more secure and protecting Andre Onana from having to make so many saves. So I think, as much as he did drop some clangers last season, hopefully we can see him rid those out of his game. But the important thing here is that, the team protects him. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit on that as well. So it might be easier for you guys to see. And there we go. Right. So Altay Bayindir, Tom Heaton, and Andre Onana, that trident of goalkeepers is fixed. And we'll move straight on to the defenders here, because look, I'll talk about maybe what else United need. I'll do that now, actually. I think I'll do it now. So obviously we're looking at a list of defenders here. It's pretty long. Victor Lindelof, Nusaya Mazraoui, and Matthias de Ligt, who've recently joined. Harry Maguire, Licha Martinez, Tyrell Malacia, Lenny Yoro, Diogo Dalot, Luke Shaw, Johnny Evans, and Harry Amas. Now, big mix here. I still think, right, and I'm not saying this will happen before the end of the transfer window. I mean, it could, but it could happen. I don't think it will, though, because I think United are going to need to spend in other areas. But we've all seen the interest that United have had in Jared Branthwaite, and I don't think that's going away. They call this a hunch. I'm not sure, but they might have already signed 2 centre-backs this summer. But I think Erik ten Hag will mainly consider them as right-sided centre-backs. So I think you got Matthias de Ligt and Lenny Yoro. And I've talked about this recently as well. I think it was in another video where especially if they ended up signing Branthwaite, let's imagine they did over this summer. That 4 as a centre-back quartet is essentially fixed. As long as you're getting the most out of them and you're giving them the right minutes, that there is a quartet of centre-backs. I'm talking about de Ligt, Yoro, Licha Martinez, and hypothetically Jared Branthwaite. I think United will end up going for him or someone of his ilk probably next summer. Maybe, I think this is just a guess, but it has some basis as well, right? So I think what you might see in the first few weeks of the season is when Matthias de Ligt is fit, and hopefully this will even come in the Brighton game this weekend. He's not had too much first team football over the last few weeks because of obviously he's been at the Euros, didn't play at the Euros, was essentially up for sale by Bayern, and United were trying to negotiate, so he missed out some time in the preseason friendlies as well. So his match practice isn't massive at the moment. So United will need to bed him in slowly. But hopefully he's got another week's worth of training under his belt by the time Saturday comes, and maybe we'll see him play more of a role than he did in the opening win over Fulham. So, but if you look at it this way, I think the core of central defence has been one thing that United have really struggled with, and what Eric Ten Hag in particular has struggled with, because obviously we know that chopping and changing your defence is not optimal. But ideally, if Eric Ten Hag is going to play the way that he wants to play football, he's going to need players who are good at distributing and good at covering behind them. So maybe there's different traits in each of these players, but I think what you'll end up seeing, and this is my opinion, what you'll end up seeing when United's squad is in the right form, into, like, let's say after next summer's transfer window, I think you'll see Matthias de Ligt as the 25, 26. He's just in 25, but like over the next, he's going into his peak years. So you've got a guy who's 25 with a point to prove, who is probably, especially with Lenny Yoro's injury, going to be first choice right centre back. You then got 18-year-old Lenny Yoro as an understudy or a guy who can take his place, who is one of the highest rated central defenders in European football. Real Madrid wanted him for a reason, but obviously United swooped in, and we know how big a deal that was, not only in financial terms, but how big a statement it was in the window as well. The kind of like, oh, Man United are serious again kind of signing. So Lenny Yoro and Matthias de Ligt are your two right centre backs. Licha Martinez injured for most of the last season, but will be the first choice left centre back. I think he's around 26 as well. So another good age, again, coming into his peak years, has already shown his importance to United and his ability to distribute the ball. And yeah, I'm sure after the Fulham game the other day, you've seen the interview that he did with Sky, and Jamie Carragher coming up to him and saying, "Oh, wait, he called him out, didn't he? He said, I've had some criticism over my height and that kind of thing from you, Jamie." And Carragher laughed it off, but I think, he's been made to eat his words there. I think Licha Martinez has proven his worth. And I think, for me, he's one of my favourite players in the United shirt at the moment. But that's three centre-backs there. So de Ligt, Lenny Yoro, and Licha Martinez. Ideally, if you can replicate on the left-hand side what you've got on the right-hand side by signing a younger left-sided centre-back like Jared Branthwaite, then I think you're set. I think you're pretty set. And what you ideally want to create in a squad is depth where you don't notice too much of a drop-off in your style of play, depending on personnel. So let's say de Ligt, got a touch of wood here. Let's say de Ligt gets injured and Lenny Yoro has to come in. Then you don't see much of a drop off at all, or there's potentially Lenny Yoro can even surpass the status that de Ligt could. But look, there's two players there that really they could play together. Maybe de Ligt, especially this season, will play the left centre back role, and maybe Licha will move out to left back. I'm not sure how it's going to work yet, especially with the injury problems that United do have at left back. But yeah, I think if United can end up signing a young left centre back who can not only deputise but potentially succeed, or maybe not succeed. Licha Martinez is still too young to be talking about him in those terms, but to sub in or rotate with Martinez, I think you've got your answers. Maybe you need another one who can maybe cover both sides, and Johnny Evans is potentially that at the moment. But really, I think that would be your core four. You're talking about de Ligt, Yoro, Martinez, and one other who I think might end up being Branthwaite. Let's see how United end up progressing. Like I say, I don't think it's going to be in this window, but you never know. I think they've identified Branthwaite as one of the players that they really, really want, and we'll see if they can make it happen. But that then leaves the likes of Victor Lindelof and Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans. I think Johnny Evans has signed on for another year. I'd be surprised if it goes beyond that, but obviously we know Johnny Evans is important to have around the place. He played a lot of football last year, and a hell of a lot more than I think even he expected and any of us expected. But Johnny Evans is going to be good to have around the place. That then begs the question of, I don't think there's any doubt really that Victor Lindelof has been made available for sale, but this is where we start encountering problems. Like Victor Lindelof is on a big contract. He's got 1 year of it left, and he was spotted on crutches recently. I think United will be trying to work on this deal to get him out as soon as they possibly can, but they might be stuck with him. They might be stuck with him until his contract expires, and maybe he will then enter the territory of, Anthony Martial, Rafa Varane, David De Gea, Paul Pogba, who all of these guys have ended up leaving at the end of their contracts at not age 35, where they're well beyond their peak years. But I think, look, Lindelof he was signed in 2017, came in, I remember the day at Huddersfield where he got caught under a ball and Huddersfield scored in one of his early matches, might have even been his debut. And I think from there, we've kind of got an idea of what we're dealing with here. Decent player. I think he would make a good signing for like a club in Italy, and maybe he'll end up going there in the future. But United needed to move on. They needed to strengthen. They have done. They have strengthened in that area with the 2 signings they've made so far this summer. So it does make Lindelof essentially surplus to requirements. And then Harry Maguire is, I think Maguire will definitely be here for another year, but it's maybe the same case as Victor Lindelof, just with an extra year on top. I mean, look, it's important to stress here how much we need to commend Harry Maguire for the way he's conducted himself and for his performances since, he got back into the team at the tail end of last season and was one of United's best players. He was really good in the match on Friday night as well. And I think he will still get his chances to come in. But I think Maguire, with the fitness of Martinez, and when De Ligt gets up to fitness, Maguire is going to rotate into that third choice centre-back option. And when Lenny Yoro is fit, he's going to be moving even further down the pecking order. So we'll see how that plays out. United will obviously need to rotate and make sure that they cover the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, and the Europa League matches as well. Maybe there's room for all of the players that I'm talking about to actually get minutes, but in terms of priority, I think Harry Maguire will eventually leave. It just depends on what kind of interest comes up in him, how happy he is to be at best a rotation player when everyone's fit, what the injury problems are like. All of it depends on that. But look, I think United tried to offload Maguire last summer. I'm sure they would have offloaded him this summer were a good offer to come in. And I think that'll remain the case, because I think United have made this statements here that we are moving on at centre-back, and we need to in order to play the style of football that Erik ten Hag wants to play. And I don't think Maguire fits that. So respect to him for his attitude, his due diligence, the way he's rebounded from all of the problems that he's had in the past, all the criticism. But it's in football and decision terms, I think this is it's a matter of time. Let's just say that. But when it does happen, I think it'll be respect on both sides and like a big thank you and best of luck kind of thing. Let's move on to right back, because we've got Diogo Dalot and Noussair Mazraoui, who will probably be sharing right back and left back duties with injury problems at the moment. But I think those two are pretty much fixed for a while. We'll see what happens. Obviously, I think there's more you can squeeze out of each of those guys, especially Dalot. I remember Rob was not very high on Dalot for a long time, but I think, look, he's coming into a good age now. He's coming into his peak years, and he should really be kicking on. And I think in the Wan-Bissaka versus Dalot debate, I think there's only one winner, and you've seen as such by the way that United have acted in the transfer market with Wan-Bissaka leaving. So Dalot and Mazraoui fixed in for right back. And then left back, we've got Luke Shaw and Tyrell Malacia and Harry Amas. Now, I would like to see a pathway for Harry Amas to come in through this season. I think a lot of people would quite like to have seen him already feature. Didn't feature in the Community Shield, obviously, and didn't feature in the first game in the Premier League season. But look, every year you're kind of looking out for, and Ten Hag has said this himself, every year you're looking out for that next one to be able to break through from the youth academy and into first team regular action. I think Harry Maas is not super far away, but maybe he's not ready yet, and maybe it'll take a few more months for him to not make the position his own, but to firmly be around the squad and firmly be getting in the rotation. Let's just say maybe that progress would not be upon us so quickly. Were Luke Shaw and Tyrell Malacia's injury problems not so prominent and frequent? Malacia, there was a good few months where we just didn't see him. Nearly a year, we just didn't see him. We wondered where he was. Talk is that he'll be back in the next couple of months, but obviously, after spending so much time out, we do see him around the training ground now. But after spending so much time out, even when he's back in full training, it's going to take him a few weeks, probably, for him to be getting up to speed. And then in matches, it's going to take him a little while for him to actually get up to match speed as well. Now, Luke Shaw is a point of frustration for a lot of people, and I get it. I really do. I don't know how the numbers break down, but we're looking at like 50%, maybe 40, 50% of his time at United. He's probably been out injured, and that is not good. That is absolutely not good. I understand the frustration for people with how he hasn't played for United since February, but was called up for England duty, came back to fitness, played in the latter stages of that tournament, and now he's injured again when United season kicks off. I don't think it's super fair to kind of go at him for his priorities. I'm sure he wants to play all the time, and I think he's just unlucky with injuries. But you remember back to when England were in that final, and there was a piece from a bunch of people, like celebrities, well-known faces in England, cheering the England team on. And Sir Jim Ratcliffe was one of them, and he said, "Luke, don't pull your hamstring." And I don't think it's his hamstring this time, but he is injured again. So how much patience can you have with a player who is injured that frequently? And I suppose need to get to this point. Would you sign a left back before the window closes? It's been a point of debate, source of debate, and I would love to hear your thoughts. Remember, please get in the comments. Would you like to see United sign a left back before the window closes? Yes, no, who? Bearing in mind that money's tight at the moment, is this a Ben Chilwell's been linked today as I record this. United signed Reguilon on loan from Tottenham last season. Could it be another one of those late ones? I don't think the money is there at the moment for United to be able to go and sign a left back who's going to be there for the next 5-10 years for a lot of money. But they will need to really look at that. I think that's going to be a potentially problem position for a little while, especially if the injuries to Luke Shaw and Tyrell Malacia persist. But obviously, Mazraoui and Dalot can cover there, but that is not the ideal. You need a left back who's going to play up the line, really, in order for United to be able to maximize what they want to do on the pitch. But I think the important thing for me here, in answer to that question that I've just asked myself, I would like to see Harry Maas's path not blocked. So maybe, as I've said in reference to the centre-back areas, ideally, you probably need players who are like 25, 26 with a younger person who can come in and either succeed them eventually or compete with them or rotate with them. And I think Maas, maybe he's not ready yet, but I think we need to get him to that point where he's exposed enough to first-team football where he can hold his own and gradually build up his minutes over the next few seasons to the point where maybe at some point he is United's new first-choice left-back. We'll see how good he is. But United have always been good at making pass for their players, and I think it's important that they do that with Harry Maas. The messages from Erik ten Hag have been kind of like he's not ready yet. So I think let's sit on that and see how it plays out over the next few months. But obviously, the immediacy of the problem at left back is exacerbated by Luke Shaw and Tyrell Malacia's absence. So Wouldn't surprise me if United did end up bringing in an emergency left back on loan. But I think all the suggestions have been recently that, I think maybe United feel like they can get by without one. And that's because Luke Shaw is supposed to be back after the international break. But then how can you trust that Luke Shaw will be fit? That's obviously the question to be asked. But yeah, let me know. Get in touch with me at _ Scott Saunders on TikTok. Can you do it on TikTok? Probably not. Instagram, follow me on there as well. And get in touch with me on Twitter or X at _ Scott Saunders. And leave a comment below on anything I've just talked about. We've been going 26 minutes already, 25 minutes, and I'm barely on the midfield. So better crack on. Right. Running through these players: Mason Mount, Bruno Fernandes, Casemiro, Christian Eriksen, Facundo Pellistri, Kobbie Mainoo, Scott McTominay, Toby Collier, Dan Gore, and Hannibal. Now, there's a few players here that I actually could see leaving before the end of the window. I think you guys probably know who they are, but I'll double back through them. United are looking, I think this was from an Athletic report, talking to Ajax about potentially taking Christian Eriksen back for around £5 million if Ajax can free up funds through sales themselves. I don't know why they need that, by the way. They've received enough money off United over the last few years in order to give some back. But especially if it's only £5 million. But Christian Eriksen, I think it might be a nice full circle moment for him if this is a move that he wants. Going back to Ajax, where it started for him, might be a sensible route, because I don't really think the way that United are going to want to play this season, I don't think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for him. But he's in the same situation of, my contract's up in a year. He's going to be leaving by 2025 anyway, isn't he? So if United can technically make a profit on him by selling him this year because they signed him on a free, then fantastic stuff. But Christian Eriksen, I can't really see him getting too much football. Maybe he'll be rotated in, but I don't see him coming in important matches, really, unless it's off the bench in order to pick a lock in a defense or something like that. I think he's now down the pecking order. And I think in recent months as well, I'm pretty sure he's done interviews saying he wants to play. Because obviously I think he's firmly in his 30s now. So obviously, he's in the latter stages of his career. So Christian Eriksen, we'll see what happens with him. But I think if United got an acceptable offer from a team, he could end up leaving before the window. Casemiro is slimmed down. Looks a little bit sleeker. And I think this ship has sailed for this summer. I think he will be staying. And it's a big contract United are going to be stuck with. So there's going to be a few players in this box. And as much as United will be trying to offload these players, I mean, how many places can these players go when they're earning as much money as they are? They'd much prefer to sit on that money, because I think we're reaching a point, really, where I think football finances is showing signs of starting to collapse on itself. Chelsea have got 20-odd players stocked up that they're trying to sell. Chelsea fans seem to think that this will just be an easy job, like, you can leave because we don't want you, and we're going to broadcast to the world that we don't want you. So come and get them, guys. Give us lots of money and we'll be done with it. I don't think it's going to work that way. Casemiro was firmly up for sale at the start of the summer, but I think this is look, if you use him in the right way, Casemiro, I think you can definitely get benefit out of him. It just depends on how often you use him, what system you use him in, and how often you rotate him out. United definitely, absolutely need another midfielder at the very least before the window closes. And but I think Casemiro will end up staying. And let's talk about Ugarte now. Let me know, guys. I think this deal will get done in some fashion before the end of the window. I think it will get done. And whether it ends up being permanent this summer or as an obligation to buy next summer, we'll see. We await news. We await a breakthrough on the negotiations with PSG. But I think, look, ideally, the sooner that is done, the better. You'd ideally like him in today so he could join the squad, learn the methods, and be integrated for either the Brighton game or the Liverpool game next weekend, because that midfield is going to need energy, and I think he will bring it. But I think Ugarte will get in. I know there's some concern though about what type of player he is, what his fit is, and if he is the right kind of player that United want, or that United are going after. I think for now it is right. And the difference with this one is like maybe I know United are trying to get the price down, but if they end up striking a deal that United are happy with, I think this is a player that can be used for a specific role and in specific matches down the line. This wouldn't be a player that United would just buy and then in a year's time they go, oh, actually he's not the right fit for us. I think this is a player that United could end up using in that because they'll need to bolster their midfield beyond Ugarte over the next few years as well. I would think, especially when Casemiro does end up leaving, but maybe that'll be a different type of profile of player. So I think it's important to build lots of different characteristics within your squad, and I think Ugarte fills a gap that United don't really have at the moment. I've seen comparisons from him to Ander Herrera. Maybe I could see that. But there's definitely going to be scenarios where Ugarte could play with Casemiro, where he could play with Kobbie Mainoo. But the important thing with Ugarte is I think what Erik ten Hag wants to do, and you're seeing it with his defensive signings as well. United need to squeeze higher up the pitch. They absolutely do. The problem that they've had, especially through last season, where they were trying to play in this like high line, high attacking line, high pressing line, high or low defensive line, and all that gap in the middle, which Casemiro had to cover. It just was not functional. It got exploited time after time after time after time. I'm pretty sure I was saying on the podcast at that time, United need quicker defenders who are more confident and able to push up so they can condense the space between the attack and the midfield. And therefore, you don't get counter-attacked on quite as much because, obviously, the space is smaller. And if you're effective in tackling, dispossessing, intercepting, you can squeeze the game a lot more. And I think what Ugarte will bring is United have already addressed the centre-backs in a sense, especially when Euro's fit. I think United will be able to do that. But in Ugarte's terms, I think he will be much more able maybe to cover the ground that will need to be covered in that area, which should squeeze up than Casemiro can. So, I think maybe they'll dovetail for a little while. Maybe they'll play together. Maybe they will be rotated in and out. But I think Casemiro, he's not going anywhere for a while. It's just United need to get Ugarte over the line as well before the transfer window closes. Now, let me know. Do you think that one will get done? And is he the right profile? Is he the right fit? I've already talked about him on an episode previously, I think. But yeah, I think that is one that I can see getting done. I think there's confidence that United will do it. It just depends on what United end up doing and how much money they're raising before the window closes as well. And when we talk about raising money, I'm not talking about Kobbie Mainoo because United want to tie him down to a new contract. I think it goes without saying, maybe I'll do a bigger section on Kobbie Mainoo in the next few weeks, but he is the future. He is it. United need to tie him down. It's an important thing for them to do so. They need to reward him. They need to make sure that he's a central part of the project. And future United captain one day, I think so. I think so. And it's about building the team around him, or him and other players. But I think Kobbie Mainoo is going to be one of the most talented players to come through at United and will be a mainstay in United teams for the next 10, 15 years. I think he's that good. And got a great head on his shoulders as well. And yeah, we all love him, don't we? We really do. So Kobbie Mainoo, time down to a new deal. Right, Toby Collier's been introduced into this into the first team over the course of pre-season. Hopefully he plays a role, but I think when I talk about what Ugarte was doing, maybe that's the job that Ugarte will do, but as more senior, a senior player with top level experience, and then maybe Toby Collier can be the understudy to that. We'll see how it plays out. But yeah, I think Collier will be a part of the first team maybe over the course of the season, unless United decide to loan him out, depending on how many signings they can get over the line in the next few weeks. Dan Gore, I'm not sure. Maybe another loan is the right move for him. But then we come to three players who could end up leaving before the deadline. Now, I am jumping back, but these players, Facundo Pellistri, I just did want to make a point on this, and it reflects how bad Man United have been managed over the last few years and how they're just having to take L's, as the kids say nowadays, in the transfer market. I make this comparison. Jonathan Rowe is leaving Norwich City, I believe, for 13 to 14 million pounds. He's going to Marseille. Facundo Pellistri is leaving Man United for 5 million euros, 5 million pounds, and he's going to Greece. Now, Facundo Pellistri is a regular player for Argentina, and like I made this comparison yesterday. I quickly deleted the tweet because I think I was just going to get ratio. But the point I was trying to make was Facundo Pellistri is a better player than 5 million pounds. I'm sure he is. I think United bought him for more than that, and it just goes to show how bad United have been managed over the last few years that they cannot get any more for him. I don't think this is a reflection on the team that have now come in and are trying to like do the incomings and outgoings, because I think they're stuck with a lot of players who have not proven. Well, they've been as part of a sinking ship essentially for the last few years, and your reputation gets damaged because of that. And what I think this team are doing, and the reason why they're prepared to go through a 5 million euro or 5 million pound transfer for the likes of Pellistri, who is a senior international for Uruguay, like regularly, by the way, the exact same as Manuel Ugarte, and United are getting quoted 10 times more than they're selling Pellistri for on Ugarte. And I suppose that's indicative of the position of weakness that United are selling from. It absolutely is. And eventually that'll turn around if things go well on the pitch. But I think for now they have to start clearing the decks. And I think that's what this move is. Pellistri, I don't think it's gonna Ten Hag hasn't really seemed to fancy him that much in terms of playing him. He's been out on loan a couple of times, and I think it's for the good of Pellistri's career and for the good of United's bank balance, that kind of thing. They need a clean break here to get some money, put a sell-on clause in, and move on and see. Hopefully, he can prove himself at Panathinaikos. I think he'll end up going to, and get a bigger move down the line that United can benefit from. But really, United need to be in 2-3 years' time. They can't be in this position, with players as young as this. Like they really have to take short-term hits now, clear the decks, and start performing on the pitch so the valuations of these players starts to rise. And I'm going to move to Scott McTominay as well, who, similar situation. We're talking, I saw comparisons earlier. United can't get 25 million for Scott McTominay. Emil Smith-Rowe has gone for 25 million, or however much it was, 30 million. Ollie Skip has left Tottenham for 20 plus 5 million, so 25 million all in for Leicester City. And United can't get Scott McTominay for 25 million. That's the position United are in at the moment. I don't think I'm quite surprised actually that they've not managed to get that kind of money from McTominay at the moment. I think they had a 30 million offer last summer and turned it down from West Ham. But I know people are split on McTominay. I know they are. And I understand the benefits of what he brings in. I think we know what he is now in terms of, crashes in the box, has an eye for goal, and that can be of benefit to a lot of teams. If he's using the right way, he's definitely not the double pivot type of player that Ollie was using him in alongside Fred. But there were some matches, especially in the ones against Leeds, where he could break through from the midfield, and he has proved that he has that eye for goal. Ten Hag has more turned him into a 10, essentially, who crashes the box and scores the goals. And he scored a lot of important goals last season. So important. And I understand the will to keep him, and I completely get it. Look, if United can end up getting Ugarte and keep Scott McTominay, I think that's ideal and great. But at some point, as this squad evolves, as much as people might like Scott McTominay, I think this is another case of the Harry Maguire situation I spoke about earlier on. Probably not the right fit for what Ten Hag is going to want to do in the long term. And given he is an academy graduate, there's a lot around this at the moment. That's how clubs benefit their PSR position, by selling academy graduates. And pure profit is the way forward, and it allows you room to maneuver, as Chelsea are showing. But even Conor Gallagher, he's basically the same player as Scott McTominay. Maybe Scott McTominay has more of a goal threat. Maybe Scott McTominay's better. I don't know. Maybe I'm biased there. But, Gallagher's left for a hell of a lot more money. Maybe because he was contracted and Chelsea are maybe doing things. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll stop talking about Chelsea. But yeah, I better bite my tongue on that. But yeah, Scott McTominay, look, Fulham have made their choice to go for Sander Berge. Even he is at 25 million quid. And United can't get it from McTominay. It's incredible, really, isn't it? And look, I don't think he should be forced out, because I think you can definitely still use him over the course of the season. There's definitely benefit to keeping him. Honest character, you kind of need those, but in the long-term squad build here, I don't think McTominay is part of it. And maybe people disagree, but please get in touch with me in the comments or on social media if you do disagree or agree. I would love to hear your thoughts, and I'm willing to listen, obviously. That's just where I stand on this. I think at some point McTominay will end up being sold. It's just a case of how much. But I think given United's transition in their style of play has not fully come into effect yet, and we're still questioning what it is, having Scott McTominay as a bench option for the season at least to come is as proven last year a good option. So look, I'm not going to be upset or angry if McTominay stays. I think there's definitely benefit, but United definitely need a new midfielder, and that's hopefully going to be Manuel Ugarte. But McTominay is a wait and see. I think maybe it depends on the club. Look, if you get the chance to work with Napoli and play for Napoli and Antonio Conte, then maybe that's something that will appeal to him. But again, do Napoli have the money? Maybe they have to sell Victor Osimhen first, and then we can see. But I think McTominay deserves a bigger club than Fulham as well, personally. So we'll see. Hannibal's been linked with a move to Burnley over the last couple of days. This is another one. United spent big on him when he was 16, I believe, from Monaco, and it's just not really turned out the way that people were hoping for him. So I think it'd be the right move to sell him, and if you can raise some money, then fantastic. Moving on to the forwards, because I've been going for too long here. Rasmus Højlund, Joshua Zirkzee, Ahmad, Alejandro Garnacho. All these players, I think, are lock-ins. We'll see if Ahmad gets a new deal as well. I think that probably is in the pipeline, given his deal might expire at the end of next season. But his status has gone up, certainly. Started the first game against Fulham, and importantly, I think this could be a breakthrough season for him. I think there's different levels for Garnacho to reach. Hopefully we can see him improve over the season to come. Then you've got two strikers in Rasmus Højlund and Joshua Zirkzee who are completely different. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how that dynamic plays out. But 23 and 21, I think they are. So plenty of room for both of those to improve. And then we get to all of the others. Maybe at centre forward to start with. What do you guys think? I put the question out there the other day. Would you put a 20 million bid in for Ivan Toney maybe on the last day of the transfer window or two? 20 million or something if he's not left for Saudi Arabia yet. Take it or leave it, Brentford. Because I still think United could do with a third option. I do. I still think they could do with a third option. But we'll see. We'll see. It depends how tight money is. It depends how much United can maneuver. And if they actually want another one. Like how high up the priority list is it? I'm not sure it really is. But just looking at the squad from the outside, for me personally, I think having another different profile of striker might be important. But obviously, I don't think it's a make or break kind of thing. I'd like to see it. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But moving on to, right, Ethan Wheatley obviously he's been introduced to the first team over the last few months, and we'll see how he progresses. I'm not sure how the career is going to pan out, whether he'll end up leaving on loan or whatever, but he's around the first team squad at the moment, and I think it's good experience for him. But obviously the questions here are around, the main questions are around Sancho at the moment. I'll come to, well, maybe I'll do Anthony first. Look, United spent a hell of a lot of money on Anthony, and they are not shifting him. Stuck. Absolutely stuck. And that is a mistake that they've made in the Erik Ten Hag era as well. So, that's the way that it is. And I think, to be honest, he's probably third choice or fourth choice right winger at the moment. You've got Ahmad and Garnacho. I think Garnacho is really effective from the right. So those two players are probably ahead of him in the pecking order at the moment. Rightfully so, given the level of performance over the last couple of years. And dependent on Sancho as well. I'm not sure what will happen with him. Obviously, I think United would like to recoup some money on him because there's not an immediate place in the first team for him. But they might be stuck with him as well. So look, Anthony, I don't think he's going anywhere. Jadon Sancho, we wait and see. Maybe this is one that could go down to the last few days of the window. But nothing seems too active for him at the moment. So I don't know what the path is for him. I just don't. And maybe United will end up having to reintegrate him, which they've already done. But like, I think he's burned his bridges with a lot of United fans, the way that he's acted last season. And I even see this crop up over the last, I've seen this crop up over the last few days as well. He's not even changed his socials. His Instagram is still Dortmund. He posted an Instagram story the other day. It was about Marco Reus, John LA Galaxy. Nothing really around United. I think maybe he's expecting to leave. I think maybe United are hoping he will leave and they can sell him permanently and be done with it. Because realistically, he's not too high up that pecking order. And if he does end up staying, he's going to have to really, really try hard to, if he wants to play, show that he's effective. Even then, it might not be enough. United have probably made their mind up on him. But Anthony is stuck there. Jadon Sancho, we'll wait and see. And Marcus Rashford, I think, it's been linked with Barcelona today. Guys, honestly, and maybe I'm wrong here, but if a player gets linked with Barcelona, knowing the financial mess and the constraints that they have, just ignore it. Just ignore it. I cannot believe they pulled off the signing of Dani Olmo. I cannot believe it. This is a team that are absolutely ruined financially. Barcelona signing players 1 year and then decided, like Ilkay Gundogan, signing players 1 year, leaving the next. Vitor Roque. They made such a big deal about signing Vitor Roque, and now he's on his way out. I think he's going to Betis on loan. Like, absolute basket case of a club at the moment. But I'll stop sharing my screen now for you and just come back to normal. My screen has been up this whole time. But yeah, I cannot see Barcelona coming in for anyone at the moment, especially in United terms. They can't even register Dani Olmo until Gundogan leaves. So that's the kind of problem they have with the salary restrictions, which are closing in on them each year in La Liga. But I've seen some tenuous links to Marcus Rashford today, but I cannot see that. Cannot see that happening at all. And I think the time for Rashford maybe to leave was at the start of the summer. But obviously, I think we all look at Marcus Rashford and think we want the Rashford of the season before last back, where he was banging in goals, was looking confident, was looking ready, was looking motivated. And at the moment, hopefully Ten Hag and United can play him back into form and play him back into confidence. But you don't really see it completely at the moment. But there's a much better player than we're seeing at the moment. And it's now on the onus is on the football structure in order to create an environment where players like Marcus Rashford can feel like they can get the best out of themselves. And Erik ten Hag needs to play a system which will get the best out of his players. But really, like the other day, United are creating chances. You got to take them. You just have to. And I think Rashford will end up staying as well. So that's my kind of keep or sell review of the United squad before the transfer window closes on Friday, August the 30th at 11 p.m. UK time. Hopefully there's some stuff which comes out of the blue and is exciting for United that we can talk about on the podcast in the next few days. But until then, I think I'm looking at here, United will need a new centre-back. Probably in the next year or two, a left-sided centre-back as cover for Martinez. I'd be surprised if it happens in the next few days, but maybe long-term, that's a position I could see being strengthened. I don't think the Jared Branthwaite interest is going away. Left back, let me know. Should United get someone in on loan? Ben Chilwell, maybe. Sergio Reguilon, why not go back there? Or can United get by with what they've got? In terms of sales, is 5 million enough for Pellistri? What would you do with Scott McTominay? Would you prefer to keep him around? Do you think Manuel Ugarte will be a United player in the next few days? And let's see how that one plays out. And then will Jadon Sancho leave as well? What do you think will happen? Let me know. Right. I'll wrap it up because I don't want to burn through too much material for you. But what I will do is United play at 12:30 at Brighton on Saturday. I will actually come back and do a post-match reaction to that. Hopefully, United can continue their good momentum at the start of the season and get a win there. But we'll see. It's going to be a difficult challenge because Brighton, obviously, 3-0 win at Everton in their first game. Big result for them. But, right, I've been Scott Saunders. Please follow me on social media at @_Scott Saunders and subscribe to The Promised Land on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube as well. Until next time, thanks for listening.